criteria. So this is a double curvature slab, or it is called as a spherical curvature, two curvature spherical slab. So this is two-way slab. Now, method of analysis. What are the various methods of analysis of the slabs are there? There is classical methods of analysis, Levy and Navier solutions. This is plate analysis usually. The second one is yield line analysis, used for ultimate and limit state method of analysis. Here our interest is yield line analysis. The yielding pattern of the slab is studied. With respect to the yielding pattern, we are going to consider the load distribution, and with respect to that we analyze the slab. These numerical techniques are there, many computer aided techniques are there, finite element method, finite difference method, likewise. And semi-empirical methods are there prescribed by the codal practice for the design used in the with respect to the coefficient. Even especially in SP 16 it is mentioned. In SP 16 are some of the codal practice books, they are mentioned with respect to the series of the various thickness with respect to the various moment which is going to carry. Okay, this is another one. And now we can go to the next slide. So here, what are the general guidelines? See, in every RCC design, IS 456 is needed. IS 456 is a general guideline booklet which is being used, used for plain and reinforced concrete structures. This is code of practice for plain and reinforced. IS 456 2000, which is revised in year 2000, is being practiced. So here we can use the we have to use with respect to that the guidelines are there. So what is effective span? Effective span is a lesser of the two values. One is clear span plus effective depth and center to center distance between the support. Lesser of these two values. This effective depth is once again calculated is with respect to the IS clause number 24.1, clause number 24.1 of IS 456. Clause number 24.1. What clause number 24? Clause number 24.1 says. See this with respect to this thing. Now clause number 24.1 is for two-way slabs, but clause number 23.2.1. Clause number 23.2.1. Up to basic value of the span to effective depth ratio, span for up to 10 meters. It is for cantilever slabs it is 7, and simply supported slab it is 20, and continuous slabs it is 26. This is holds good. It holds good for beams and slab. And a slight modification factor is to be considered. And with respect to that, we are going to arrive for the effective depth of the slab. For that effective depth, we are going to add the nominal cover with respect to the exposure conditions as per IS 456 clauses. So the overall depth is calculated. Okay. For obtaining the modification factor, the percentage of steel of slab can be assumed from 0.2 to 0.5%. The effective depth D of two-way slab can also be assumed as with respect to the clause number 24.1. For two-way slab, it is 24.1. For one-way slab, it is at 23.2.1. Simply supported slabs, it is 20 with a modification factor of 25%. Excess to that also to be considered. The following thumb rules can be used. The one-way slab. See, one-way slab from it is L by D ratio for simply supported thing is 1:20, but here from 1:22 to 1:28 we can consider. But generally we consider for one-way slab is 1:25. Okay, 1:25. Two-way simply supported slab 1:20 to 30. Once again, it depends on the IS clauses. I will mention the clause. See, clause number 24.1. What clause number 24.1 says? For 2A slabs, the shorter span up to 3.5 meter and for the mild steel reinforcement, and the live load does not exceed 3 kilonewton per meter square, 3 kilonewton per meter square, then simply supported case is span to effective depth ratio is 35 for MS bars. This value shall be multiplied by 0.8 for FE 4 on 5 means HYSD bars. And for continuous slabs, it is 40 and it will be multiplied by with 0.8 for HYSD bars. This is clause number 24.1. Then loads on the slab. The load on the slab comprises of dead load, live load, floor finish, and all these loads are being calculated per meter for one-way slab and per square meter for two-way slab. Okay, dead load means the dead load, whatever the thing we are getting, the overall thickness multiplied by 25 kilonewton per meter square. What is 25 kilonewton per meter square? It is a density of reinforced cement concrete, because plain cement concrete densitized for 24 kilonewton per meter square as per IS guidelines. 100 kg, minimum 100 kg per meter cube of concrete, the steel to be considered. With respect to that, 25 kilonewton, 100 kg means 1000 newtons. So 24 kilonewton and 1 kilonewton, 25 kilonewton per meter cube is the density of the concrete, reinforced cement concrete. And floor finish as per it is again a dead load. Floor finish as per IS 875 part 1. Various kinds of floors are to be considered. With respect to that, the floor finish can be worked out to 1 kilonewton per meter, 2 kilonewton per meter square to 3-4 kilonewton per meter square with respect to the type of a building. Residential building corridors, residential building staircase, and institutional buildings, classrooms, corridor, staircase. With respect to that, as per 875 part 1, the dead load floor finishes are assumed. With respect to the same thing, as per 875 part 2, the live loads are assumed. Live loads are 2 kilonewton per meter square to 5 kilonewton per meter square are mentioned, can be assumed depending upon the type of occupancy of the building. So the floor finish, as I said, floor finish is as per 875 part 1, the floor finish are worked out with respect to the different materials. Floor finish worked out to different materials like granite flooring, ironite flooring, as brickbat Koba flooring or Kadapa flooring, or different kind of floorings are being practiced. So, detailing requirement as per IS 456-2000. The nominal cover for mild exposure 20 mm, moderate exposure 30 mm. However, if the diameter of the bar doesn't exceed 12 mm or cover, then in that case, cover may be reduced to 15 mm, 5 mm can be reduced. Okay. Thus, the main reinforcement up to 12 mm diameter, the mild exposure, nominal cover shall be 5 mm and effective cover shall be half of the diameter to be added there. The minimum reinforcement criteria. The reinforcement in either direction of a slab shall not be less than 0.15% of total gross cross section of a slab when Fe 250 grade is used. If it should not be less than 0.12% of total gross cross section of a slab if Fe 4 on 5 or Fe 500 steel is used. Now, the spacing of bars. The maximum spacing of bars shall not exceed. See, when we are spreading the bars in the slab, the maximum spacing diameter from 8 mm, 10 mm, 12 up to 12 mm are regularly being used. When we are spreading the steel in the slab, the maximum spacing between the bars should not exceed, if it is mild steel, 3 times the diameter or 300 mm, whichever is smaller. If it is it is for main steel. And 3 times the 5 times the diameter or 450 mm, whichever is less for distribution steel. Means main steel means the direction in which the slab is considered for design, means where the span of the slab is considered for design. Okay, this is the maximum spacing. No, the minimum clear spacing of the bars is not kept less than 75 mm. Through the though the code is not recommending this value anywhere, but in the minimum spacing in the beams is 20 plus 5, means maximum size of course aggregate plus 5 mm. But here the minimum clear spacing of bars in slab shall not be less than 75 mm. Usually we are keeping the spacing 100 mm regular. Not the minimum spacing, minimum spacing is not less than the 100 mm usually in practice, but even up to 75 mm also we can keep. But one should take the care in not reducing the spacing much. Oh, it resounds. It resounds if it is a floor slab. The maximum diameter of the bar. Maximum diameter of a bar in a slab shall not exceed d by 8, where d is the overall thickness of the slab. Means 1/8 of the slab thickness. The maximum diameter of a bar shall not exceed 1/8 of the slab thickness. Anyway, this is the major guidelines which are